The sea was not quiet that night. It roared like a beast beneath the moonlight, smashing against the sharp rocks of Greyshore. The wind screamed through the tiny village, shaking the windows and rattling the doors. Most people stayed hidden in their homes, holding candles and whispering prayers. But one boy stood outside, barefoot, his eyes locked on the water. His name was Eli. Eli Hawthorne was 14, thin like a reed, with messy blonde hair and eyes the color of sea glass. He had grown up beside the sea, raised by his grandmother after his parents disappeared when he was only 5. The villagers often told him stories how his father had been a fisherman and his mother a sea singer. Some even said the ocean took them both, but no one ever told him the full truth. That night, something was different. Eli could feel it in his bones, like the sea was calling his name. Not like a wave or a wind, it was something deeper, something old. He stood on the edge of the cliff, above the black rocks, where boats never went. Everyone in Greyshore knew the stories. That spot was cursed, they said. Ships vanished there. Lights were seen under the water. And once, long ago, a girl had gone missing, only for her shadow to return alone. But Eli wasn't afraid. He felt drawn. "Don't go there, boy," a voice said from behind him. Eli turned and saw Old Man Murdoch standing by the path, wrapped in a thick coat. His beard was white and wild, and his cane dug deep into the wet earth. "You'll get yourself drowned." Eli didn't answer. He just stared out at the sea again. "You hear them, don't you?" Murdoch said quietly, stepping closer. "Hear what?" The voices. Eli's heart jumped. He hadn't told anyone. Every night for the past week, he had heard whispers in his sleep. Soft, sad voices that echoed like waves in a cave. They called his name. Sometimes they sang. "I heard them too when I was your age," Murdoch said. "Long time ago. And I went looking for them. Like you're doing now." "What did you find?" Murdoch looked away. "Nothing good." He turned and left without another word, disappearing into the fog that curled around the trees like ghosts. But Eli stayed. The sea was alive tonight. The wind died for a moment, and the water grew still. Then, from the black waves below, came a sound so clear, so haunting, it froze Eli in place. A song, high and sweet, like glass breaking. It rose from the depths like it had been waiting for him all along. Eli stepped closer to the edge. He didn't feel afraid. He felt known. The sea called again, louder this time, and something shimmered far below, deep in the dark water. It wasn't a boat light. It wasn't the moon. It was a face. For 1 second, Eli saw it. Pale, glowing, eyes as deep as the ocean. It looked straight at him, not angry, not kind, just watching. Then it vanished beneath the surface. Eli stumbled back, heart racing. He ran down the cliff path, splashing through puddles and nearly falling twice, until he reached his grandmother's house at the edge of the village. Inside, the fire still burned. His grandmother, Mora Hawthorne, sat in her rocking chair with a heavy shawl over her shoulders. Her long silver hair was tied back, and her eyes were sharp as needles. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked without turning. Eli froze. "Saw who?" Mora turned her face toward him slowly. "The sea maiden." Eli's mouth opened, but no words came. His grandmother stood up, walked over to the mantel, and took down a small wooden box. She opened it carefully and pulled out an old, faded map. "I had hoped it would skip your blood," she whispered. Eli stared at the map. It showed the coastline of Greyshore, but there was a strange symbol marked just off the black rocks, a spiral with a line through it. "What is that place?" he asked. "The Hollow Deep," she said. "It's where your mother vanished." Eli felt like the world had stopped spinning. "I thought she drowned," he whispered. Mora shook her head. "No, child. The sea took her." She heard the song and answered it. Eli sat down hard. His legs didn't want to hold him anymore. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because knowing doesn't help," she said softly. "It only brings more pain. I lost my daughter to that place. I wasn't going to lose you too." Eli looked at her, tears in his eyes. "But I saw something down there. I think I think it knows me, Mora nodded. It does, because you are part of it now, and it won't stop until you come to it. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, listening to the wind and waves. The voices came again, clearer than ever before. They whispered secrets he didn't understand, names he'd never heard, and over it all, the same haunting song. The next morning, the sky was gray and heavy with clouds. The village was quiet, as if the whole world held its breath. Eli packed a small bag rope, a lantern, a piece of bread. Then he took the old map and slipped out the door. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he knew one thing: the sea had called him, and he was going to answer. The cold salt air hit Eli's face as he stepped out of the village and onto the path leading down to the sea. The ground was still wet from the storm the night before, and the wind pushed gently against his back, as if urging him forward. Greyshore looked quiet behind him, with its slate-roofed cottages and winding streets. Smoke curled from chimneys. Fishermen were already heading out to sea, their boats tiny shadows in the distance. But Eli wasn't going to the docks. He followed the cliff path, his fingers tight around the old map. He didn't know exactly what he was looking for, but the symbol marked on the map seemed like a place where secrets waited. The black rocks stood like jagged teeth at the base of the cliffs, dangerous and sharp, cutting through the waves like knives. No one ever went there. Even the bravest sailors stayed away, but Eli went down. He climbed the narrow path that twisted between sharp stone and slippery moss, his shoes soaked and his hands scraped. At the bottom, the sea slammed against the rocks, and the smell of salt and seaweed filled his nose. He stood at the edge, staring out at the endless water. "I'm here," he whispered. At first, nothing happened. Then the tide shifted. The waves grew slower, softer, and a shape appeared in the water. It rose slowly, barely breaking the surface, long and smooth, with silvery skin and eyes like pale pearls. It looked human, but not quite. Its face was too perfect, its movements too graceful. Eli stepped back, heart pounding. The creature watched him, then tilted its head, curious. "Who are you?" Eli called out. The creature blinked slowly. Then, in a voice as soft as the wind, it answered, "I am the one who remembers." "Remembers what?" "Your mother, your name, the promises made long ago." Eli's heart jumped. "You knew my mother?" The creature didn't answer. Instead, it pointed to a narrow cave entrance hidden between two tall rocks. "Come," it said. Eli hesitated. Then he remembered what his grandmother had said. "Knowing doesn't help. It only brings pain." But Eli needed to know. He needed to see. He followed the creature, climbing across slippery rocks, then squeezing through the small cave entrance. Inside, the air grew colder, and the sound of the sea became muffled. The creature swam through a dark tunnel, lit only by a faint green glow from underwater moss. Eli followed, holding the lantern high. After a while, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. The roof shimmered with tiny crystals, and the floor was covered in smooth, wet stones. A shallow pool lay in the center, perfectly still. Around it, strange carvings lined the wall: spirals, eyes, waves, and symbols Eli didn't understand. "What is this place?" he whispered. "The beginning," the creature replied. "And the end." Then, from the water, more faces appeared. First one, then two, then five. Sea people. Creatures like the first one, beautiful, cold, watching. They circled him, but not with anger. They looked at him with something deeper. "Recognition. You carry her blood," one of them said. "The blood of the sea." "My mother?" Eli asked. They nodded. "She came to us. She sang the song. She chose." "Chose what?" "To leave your world, to become one of us." Eli stepped back. "That's not true. She wouldn't leave me. She loved me." A soft voice spoke behind him. "I did love you." Eli turned. There, standing just at the edge of the pool, was a woman with long golden hair and a face that made his breath catch. Her eyes were just like his, pale green with a bit of storm in them. "Mom," she smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You look just like your father." she said. Eli ran to her, but just as he reached out, his hand passed through her arm. She was not fully there. A memory, a ghost, a shadow. Why did you leave me? He asked. I didn't want to, she said softly. But the sea called me. I was born of it, Eli. Just like you. I'm not like them, he said. I'm just a boy. She knelt beside him. No, you're not. You're more than that. You're the bridge between two worlds. The sea watches you. The sea knows you. I don't want it, Eli whispered, but it wants you. Suddenly, the pool began to glow. The carvings on the walls lit up, pulsing like a heartbeat. The water shimmered with colors that didn't belong on land, deep blues, golds, silver. The sea people began to sing, low, haunting notes that rose higher and higher. What's happening? Eli asked, backing away. This is your test, his mother said. You must choose. Choose what? To stay or to return. If I stay, I become like you. She nodded. You'll live forever, but forget the land, forget the wind. In the trees, the feel of fire, the smell of bread. You will sing only the sea, and if I go back, you'll live a human life. You'll grow. You'll change. You'll die. Eli shook his head. I don't know what to do. Listen to your heart. He turned away from the glowing pool and ran back through the tunnel, his breath shaking. The song followed him, softer now, like a lullaby. When he reached the cave entrance, he paused. The creature from before was waiting. You are afraid? It said. Yes, good, it said. Only the brave fear the truth. Eli looked back once more, then climbed out into the gray daylight. The sea was quiet again. Eli stood on the shore, his shoes soaked, his hands cold. He looked out at the waves, and this time they didn't whisper. They waited. He walked slowly. Home, the map still in his hand, the memory of his mother's voice still in his ears. When he reached the cottage, his grandmother stood at the door, watching him. You went, she said. He nodded. And what did you see? My mother, he whispered. Mora said nothing, just opened her arms, and Eli ran into them. For a long time, they stayed that way. That night, Eli sat by the window, staring out at the ocean. The sea had offered him immortality. He had chosen life, but deep in the dark water, the sea did not forget. It never forgets. 3 weeks passed. Greyshore returned to its quiet rhythm, boats going out at dawn, fishermen selling fresh catch by noon, and the church bell ringing every Sunday. People waved to each other on the street. Children chased seagulls along the sand, and old men sat by the docks sharing stories they half believed. But Eli couldn't return to normal. He was different now, changed. At night, he dreamed of the sea, not just waves and water, but voices, faces, that glowing chamber beneath the cliff, his mother's hand reaching out but never quite touching his. He tried to ignore the pull inside him, but it never stopped. It grew louder. He helped his grandmother with chores. He chopped wood. He read old books. But when he closed his eyes, he could still hear the soft call beneath the waves. One afternoon, as he cleaned the front porch, a stranger arrived in the village. She walked with a limp, wore a long navy coat, and carried a weather-beaten bag slung over her shoulder. Her skin was pale, her eyes sharp, and her hair was black as storm clouds. She didn't speak to anyone, just stared at the sea with a look Eli recognized, the look of someone listening. Later, he saw her at the inn. She was asking the innkeeper questions about the black rocks, about the boy who survived the hollow deep. Eli stepped forward. You're looking for me. The woman turned. You're Eli Hawthorne? Yes. She stared at him for a long moment. I need to talk to you. They sat on a bench near the beach, away from others. The waves rolled in gently. My name is Isla, she said. Isla. Mare. I'm a researcher. Researching what? The legend of the sea. Eli flinched. You've heard the stories? I've followed them my whole life, she said. All over the world. Places where people vanish by the water, where lights appear under the ocean, where songs are heard in dreams. She opened her bag and pulled out a thick leather journal. Inside were drawings, maps, sketches of sea people, old symbols, just like the ones Eli had seen in the cave. My sister disappeared near this village 16 years ago, Isla said. Her name was Mira. She was 20, a strong swimmer. She went out alone on a calm day. Her boat was found broken on the rocks, but her body was never found. I'm sorry, Eli said quietly. She heard the song, Isla said, her voice cracking. Just like your mother did. Just like you did. Eli looked down. Isla leaned closer. The sea chooses certain people. It speaks to them, offers them something powerful, but it always takes something in return. I know, he said. Did you go down there? She asked. He nodded. And you came back. He looked up, eyes sharp. You want to go, don't you? Isla hesitated, then whispered, Yes. Eli stood up. Then I'll take you. That night, they waited until the moon was high. Eli led Isla down the path to the black rocks. The wind was cold, but the sea was calm. As they climbed down the sharp cliffside, the same fear returned to Eli's chest, but this time, it wasn't just fear, it was warning. He stopped by the cave entrance. It's not just a place, he said. It's alive down there. I understand, Isla said. No, Eli whispered. You don't. She went in first, lantern in hand. Eli followed slowly. The tunnel had changed. The walls shimmered with moisture, and the green glow was brighter. The carvings had shifted, too. The eyes looked deeper, the spirals more twisted. Eli's skin prickled. This wasn't like this before, he said. They reached the chamber, but it was no longer quiet. Water churned in the pool. The air was filled with voices, dozens of them, crying, whispering, singing. Isla stepped closer, breath held tight. Then a figure rose from the pool. It wasn't the same creature Eli had seen before. This one was darker, with scales like black pearls and hair floating like seaweed. Its eyes were red. It did not smile. Isla gasped. Mira, she whispered. The creature tilted its head. Sister, Isla fell to her knees. It's you. You're alive. No, the creature said. She is part of the sea now. There is no going back. Eli grabbed Isla's arm. We have to leave, but the chamber shifted. The walls began to close in. The carvings pulsed like angry hearts. The pool swelled. You returned, the creature said to Eli. You made your choice. I did, but you brought another, she asked, he said. She needed to know. The creature's voice deepened. The sea does not offer second chances. Suddenly, tendrils of water rose from the pool like arms, wrapping around Isla's legs. She screamed. Eli lunged forward, grabbing her hand, pulling hard. The water fought back, wrapping tighter, dragging her down inch by inch. Let her go, Eli shouted. Then a voice rang out softer, clearer, his mother's. Eli, he looked up. Her face appeared again, only this time brighter than before. Her hair floated like sunlight in the water. She stepped forward and touched the dark creature. Let the girl go. She is ours. The creature hissed. No, his mother said. She still belongs to the land. And just like that, the tendrils unwrapped. Isla fell backward, gasping, into Eli's arms. The dark creature hissed and vanished beneath the surface. Eli's mother looked at him one last time. Do not return again, Eli. You've been spared twice. The sea is not so patient. I understand, he said, and she was gone. Eli and Isla scrambled out of the cave, hearts pounding, lungs burning. They didn't stop until they reached the top of the cliffs, where the stars blinked gently above them. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Isla whispered, I saw her. She's not the same, but she's still in there. Eli nodded. But we have to let them go. The sea lay still below them, pretending to be calm, but they both knew better. It had given them back their lives, but not without warning. The sea was quiet for a few days after Isla's return. Greyshore breathed again. The fishermen mended nets. The children played by the pier. People smiled and asked Eli how he was, and he gave them short answers. He did not tell them the part about Mira or the dark creature or how his mother had come back just long enough to save a stranger, but silence had a weight. Isla left after a week. She went quietly in the night, leaving Eli a small journal with new drawings she had written. her sister's name on the first page, and beneath it a line that said, "The sea does not forget those who listen." "Neither should I." Before she left, she hugged him, a brief, trembling thing, and said, "You kept me alive. I'll carry that debt. I'll keep searching. But be careful, Eli. The sea hears everything. It is patient. Our silence is its shelter." After she left, the whispers returned, softer now, like wind on the skin. Eli learned to live with them. He went to the fields. He helped his grandmother. He did chores, and the villagers assumed he was healing. But some nights, the voices came with dreams of waves swallowing whole towns, of children walking into the water without fear, of a shadow standing at the edge of the cliff, watching. He started to see small things around him change. A gull flew too close and turned, but its eyes held a knowing sadness. The tide line on the beach left patterns that matched the carvings from the cave. The village wells tasted faintly salty once, then returned to normal. Once, while reading by candlelight, the candle flickered, and in the movement, Eli could almost see his mother's outline, like smoke trapped for a second before it drifted away. He knew the sea was not done. One evening, late in August, a storm came. It did not start like the others. There was no wind warning, no broken sky turning gray. The air just grew heavy. In the village, doors shut early, and lantern light flickered. The waves began to pound the rocks before nightfall, crashing loud enough to rattle even the thick shutters. The villagers gathered at the inn, sharing stories of old storms, but none remembered one beginning with silence like this. Eli stood on the cliff alone, watching the black water bruise with power. The sky had split open with lightning far away, and the moon hid itself behind a wall of clouds. He felt the pull in his chest stronger than ever. The voices were loud, not the voices of the sea people now, but something deeper. Not a song this time. Words, Eli, they said. Eli. He followed the sound down the path. The storm did not yet rain, but the first drops began to fall like thin threads of silver. The black rocks trembled beneath his feet. He arrived at the cliff's edge to find the water below throwing itself into the air, swirling into shapes. In the middle of the spray, the sea formed a figure, not complete, not solid. It had the basic shape of a man, tall and strong, with broad shoulders, but its edges were waves that broke and reformed. At the center of his chest was a spiral that spun slowly, glowing like a small moon. "Who are you?" Eli asked. The figure's voice came from all around him, like thunder, followed by the soft hush of foam. "I am the one the sea listens to. I am its silence. I am the debt unpaid. You hurt my village," Eli said, anger rising despite the fear. "You hurt people you don't even know." The figure's wave shoulders rolled. "You all owe something. The sea gives, and you take. You burn its fish, pollute its waters, forget its names. You take its children and call them storms. Balance must return." "I didn't ask for this," Eli said. I answered. "I chose life. I didn't ask for a price." The figure's spiral glowed brighter. "You chose. You did not pay. Now, the sea asks. The choice is not yours alone. What do you want?" Eli demanded. The waves around the figure broke into smaller shapes, and from them came faces, not the pale ones like his mother's, but eyes of old fishermen, drowned children, sailors lost in fog, ghosts of those the sea had taken over centuries. They watched him. "You will be the keeper," the voice said. "You will keep the silence. You will carry the story. You will never speak of what you heard tonight. You will lay down your voice if you do. The sea will take what you love most. The debt will be paid." Eli's legs shook. "That's not fair." "Fairness died with the first net thrown too deep," the voice replied. "You were given a chance. You refused the sea forever. You turned away its gift. Now you must protect the quiet. If the tale is told, the storm is freed. The storm will take more. The sea will not stop." He felt something cold crawl down his spine. "What do you mean if I tell the story? You will lose your grandmother," the figure said simply. "You will lose the village. You will lose the sun's warmth on your face the day you remember you spoke." The sea does not bargain with fools twice. The price will rise, and you will carry the echo of their dying forever. Eli closed his eyes. He thought of Mora sitting by the fire, humming old lullabies. The lines around her eyes, the wrinkles, her hands folded in her lap as she read from a worn book. He saw the boy he had been, small and hungry, her voice like shelter. He saw the village, the bakery with the smell of rising bread, the church bell, the laughter of children. He opened his eyes. I will keep silent, he said. I will carry your silence, but I won't let you hurt them. I will protect them. The figure's waves stilled slightly. Then listen. The sea is not only a keeper of stories, it is a keeper of blood. You have waters in you that are not from rain. The knot holds the promise of peace only when the secret is unbroken. We will give you a mark. Others will sense it. They will come. They will want what you have. Keep them away. Keep the truth buried like rocks under tide. Fail, and the storm will find a new voice, a line of light traced from the figure to Eli's chest. It burned cool, like cold fire, and then sank inside him. The mark faded, a small spiral under his ribs, invisible to others, but alive when he touched it with his fingers. He felt something deep in his bones shift, like the tide turning inside him. You are bound, the figure said, and the sea listens. Be careful, keeper. The storm remembers. The silence breaks easily when the heart cracks. Eli nodded. He could hear the distant rumble of thunder now, the sound of rain starting to patter on the rocks behind him. The figure dissolved slowly, turning into mist, into spray, into nothing. The faces in the water faded. The peaceful night returned, but the storm had come. Greyshore below shivered as sheets of rain began to fall. He stood there until the rain soaked his clothes through. Then he turned and walked home. When he entered the cottage, his grandmother was already waiting. Her expression was gentle but tired, like she had been listening to something he could not hear. Eli sat by the fire and said nothing. Mora handed him a cup of tea, and he took it with both hands, swallowed slowly. You were at the cliff, she said. I was, he replied. She nodded, then closed her eyes for a moment. Sometimes, she said, the sea speaks in different ways. I heard it too. I felt its pull. There is a place for silence, Eli. We carry it in our bones. I know the price. I paid mine long ago. You did? Eli asked. She smiled, small and sad. I kept a secret once. I lost a friend because of it. I still hear the waves calling her name. You are not alone. That night, Eli lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. The spiral under his ribs pulsed like a heartbeat when he touched it. The voices were quiet, but he knew they would come again. He also knew he could not tell anyone. Not Isla, not the villagers, not even himself clearly. The next day, the storm had passed. The sun came out like nothing had happened. People cleaned their roofs and checked their boats. Eli went to the market, and no one treated him differently. He was still the same boy, but the secret had weight. It sat in his chest like stone, and every breath reminded him of the promise. He kept watching the sea. Every morning now, he felt it look back. No one in Greyshore knew that their quiet life depended on a boy who carried a mark beneath his ribs, a promise wrapped around his tongue, and a silence that could break the world if he whispered the wrong word. It was nearly a year before anything changed again. Eli turned 15. The village celebrated with a small cake and some wildflowers gathered from the cliffs. His grandmother gave him a new coat stitched by hand. It had a wave pattern on the sleeves. She didn't mention it, but Eli noticed. The fisherman gave him a pouch of smoked fish. The baker gave him an extra loaf. Life in Greyshore was simple, and they all thought he was just a quiet boy who had seen too much. No one knew he was the boy who carried the sea. The mark under his ribs never faded. It stayed there, pulsing gently, warm when he dreamed, cold when someone asked questions that got too close. Most nights, the sea whispered softly like it was breathing just outside his window. Other nights, it said nothing at all. Silence could be louder than sound. He never went back to the black rocks. He never told another soul what really happened with his mother, with the hollow deep, with the storm that had promised to take everything if he spoke, until one day, someone came to Greyshore asking questions again. This time, it wasn't a woman in a long coat. It was a boy, about Eli's age, dark-haired, sharp-eyed, with confidence in every step. He said his name was Cal. He arrived on a rainy afternoon, soaking wet and smiling. Eli was at the dock helping Mr. Hargrove patch a net when Cal walked up. "You're Eli, right?" the boy asked. Eli nodded slowly. "I've heard of you," Cal said. "The boy who came back from the Black Rocks." Eli froze. Cal leaned in. "Don't worry. I'm not a stranger to the sea either. I've been listening to it my whole life." Eli studied him. There was something strange in the boy's eyes, not evil, but curious, hungry, like he was searching for something and wouldn't stop until he found it. "I don't talk about that place," Eli said. Cal grinned. "I figured. That's what makes it a good story." Over the next few days, Cal stayed in the village. He said he was just visiting, that his family traveled a lot, that he liked the sea. He helped some of the old men with their boats. He played cards with the boys in the square. Everyone liked him, but Eli didn't trust him. One evening, Eli found him standing alone at the cliff, looking down at the Black Rocks. "You shouldn't be here," Eli said. Cal didn't turn around. "It's beautiful, don't you think so?" "No," Eli said. "It's dangerous." Cal finally turned, his eyes darker than before. "I think you know what's down there." Eli said nothing. "I think you've seen things no one else has," Cal continued. "And I think you're carrying something that doesn't belong to you." Eli stepped forward, hands clenched. "Go home, Cal." Cal tilted his head. "You don't even know what you are, do you?" "I said go home," but Cal didn't leave. He smiled again, slow and strange. "You're not the only one the sea talks to, Eli. But unlike you, I'm not afraid to listen." He turned and walked away. That night, the dreams came back hard. The water, the chamber, the red-eyed creature, the spiral spinning faster. He saw Cal underwater, smiling. The next day, Eli woke before dawn. He went to the cliff. He didn't see Cal, but he knew he had to do something. The spiral under his ribs burned not with pain, but with warning. The sea was stirring. He went back to the house and found his grandmother in the kitchen. "I need to ask you something," he said. She looked up, surprised. "Of course. Is there anyone else in our family who's heard the sea?" Mora went still. Then she put down her teacup. "Yes, who?" "My brother," she said softly. "Your great-uncle Seth. He vanished when he was 17. We thought he drowned, but I remember the way he looked at the water. The same way you do, I think." "I think he listened." "Did he make a choice?" "I don't know," she said, "but I've always believed he did." Eli looked down. "There's another boy here. He's listening too, and I think he wants something dangerous." Mora's face darkened. "Then you must be strong. The sea does not tempt those it cannot use." Eli nodded. He left the house and walked back toward the cliffs. This time Cal was waiting. "I knew you'd come," he said. "What do you want from me?" Eli asked. "Not from you," Cal said. "From the sea. I've been calling it. Every night, I sing the songs. I leave things at the shore. I want it to choose me." "It won't," Eli said. "It already chose me." And I said no. Cal smiled darkly. "That's why it needs someone new." Suddenly, the wind changed. The sky turned the color of ash. The waves began to crash harder than they had in months. "I opened something," Cal whispered. "Last night, I went into the cave. I reached the chamber. The water sang back." Eli stepped forward. "You fool, the sea is rising," Cal said. "It wants to take what it's owed." And just like that, a huge wave rose behind the rocks, towering, black, shimmering with lights deep within. It moved toward the village like a slow, crawling beast. Eli grabbed Cal by the arm. "You'll kill everyone." Cal jerked away. "Then tell them. Warn them. Break your silence." Eli froze. He could scream. He could run. He could shout to the village to run. But the promise, if he broke it, his grandmother would die. The village would vanish beneath the sea. That was the price. The sea had made it clear. He felt trapped. The spiral burned hot. And then Eli made a choice. He turned his face to the wave and whispered, "Take me." The spiral glowed. The wave paused. The sea listened. Cal stared, confused. "What are you doing?" Eli stepped forward, into the wind, into the water, into the storm. "I'm paying the debt." "No," Cal shouted. "That's not what I wanted." The sea rose around Eli, wrapping him in foam and wind and whispers. He saw his mother's face again. He saw the chamber. He saw the spiral close, then silence. When the wave crashed, it didn't touch the village. It broke just outside Greyshore, sending spray and foam into the sky, but no harm came. The water calmed. The clouds drifted apart, but Eli was gone. They searched for him, but they never found his body. Cal left the next day, looking hollow and frightened. He never returned. Years passed, and the villagers told stories about a boy who once spoke to the sea, who vanished in a storm that never reached the shore. Some say you can still see him standing on the rocks in the morning mist. Some say the sea took him. Others say he became part of it, but only Maura knew the truth, that her grandson had given everything to keep their peace, and every evening she stood by the shore, watching the waves. Sometimes, when the tide was right and the wind was quiet, she heard a voice soft and distant saying, "I am here." I remember, the sea had taken him, but it had also kept its promise, and so the legend of the sea lived on not in words, but in silence, in waves that whispered the name of a boy who chose others over himself, the keeper of the sea, Eli Hawthorne. The end.